Hi, I'm Eddie of Eddie's Reef Aquaria. Today's video's topic is water flow in your reef. Water flow in your reef is very, very important. Now, there's certain things that you should consider, and before I'm going to touch the subject of what I'm going to use. First of all, what you should have is not what's called a laminar flow. A laminar flow is a water flow that only goes one type of direction. It doesn't create what's called an irregular flow. That's the type of flow that you're looking for in any of these reef tanks. What that means is that you should have either, like here, I have the quiet drive with the pump. You should either have two of these, one on each side, or if not, like in this tank that is not big enough to actually sustain two of these, then you should have like at least one, and then you can have like one of these outlets, which is what I'm planning to do, but not just one, but actually on the two outlets, you can go ahead and put a spin stream, which it would actually spin the water with combination of the quiet drive. That would actually cause what's called, as I mentioned briefly, an irregular flow. You see, what you're trying to create is not just laminar flow, which is just one direction, but a chaotic type of flow, where the water is coming from all different points of directions. Now, if you weren't to have a power head or a wave maker like this one, then what they recommend is to get, like, let's say, two nozzles. Like in this case, if I didn't have this, just get the two nozzles and aim them at the glass. Here at the glass, where it would actually hit the glass and bombard it, the flow would go to the sides and it would create a type of an irregular flow. What happens with laminar flow is that since the flow is headed only one direction, then you will have a situation where your corals will grow only in one direction. And that's really what you don't want to see. You want to see a thriving reef where all the corals are growing in different types of direction, but not just one direction. Now, before doing this video, I did some little research and I looked at other videos and I brought up some different topics. And no matter how high end you want to go, it's really impossible to actually do exactly what the actual real reef would actually do when it comes to water flow and currents. You can mimic it, you can bring it as close as possible, like here with a quiet drive. As you must know, there's different types of programming. So you can use the reef crest and, for a certain amount of time, then you can switch to the lagoon mode, the feeding mode. You have the night mode. You have different modes that you can program the quiet drive, where it would change constantly the actual current. But by my research and what I read and looked at on videos, it's humanly impossible in captivity to actually create exactly the exact conditions and the exact flow in a real out there ocean reef. You can mimic it with the spin stream and these type of wave makers, the gyro, and other ones that they actually have. Now, one of the benefits of having water flow is that it actually brings oxygen to the water, to the water containment. That meaning that your corals, your fish, etc., invertebrates, and all the other animals that you have there will be bombarded with oxygen. That meaning that the tank will actually have a lot of circulation of oxygen. And also, one thing that I'm looking on the side because I did some notes, so I would follow it to the T as I go along on this video. Another very important when you have irregular flow is the nutrient transfer. You will tend to have more nutrients being transferred to the actual corals and to the fish versus no flow or just a laminate flow. One other thing that I noticed also on doing this little research for this video is that it also helps with a pH due to the fact of a constant circulation. Now, one thing though that you must keep in mind is that as in reference to your aquascaping, in reference to how your corals are placed and the corals grow, that flow tends to change. It'll diffuse, it'll deviate as corals grow or as you add more corals. So the rule of thumb is to also, to be careful in observing the flow. Make sure to try to eliminate dead spots. And also make sure that flow, water flow in the tank, you also find it on the back of the rocks. That's why that on both tanks, the 40 that I'm in the process of setting up and the nano, the 9 gallon, I made sure that when I set up the rocks, I didn't put them exactly to the back of the wall, but I kept a space so water will actually flow on the back, also of course, around the perimeter of the tank, and you won't have no dead spots. And one thing that I finally want to stress when it comes to flow is what is the proper flow? What amount of flow should you actually have? Well, the rule of thumb is that in reference to the amount of gallons of water that you have, it should be either 10 or 20 times the gallon. Now that's really not set in stone. That's the rule of thumb. But again, like I mentioned before, it all depends on your rock work, and it depends the placements of the coral and how the coral will grow. It will deviate the water flow. Now, when it comes to the coral behaviors and what amount of flow do you actually need? Well, let's start from the minimum flow to the maximum flow and the corals that would be in that population, in that group. Okay, the softies like mushrooms, Pulsingenia, clams, things of that nature, they really don't need that heavy flow of water. They really will do well and great on low to maybe almost medium type of water flow. Now when you get to the LPS types of corals, which are the corals you would probably put in the mid-range of your tank, those corals do need a little more than just low flow of water. They need like a moderate water flow because of the long extended polyps that they have, and that would affect if you didn't have too much flow. Then, like let's say the nutrients that you want to target that coral probably might not make it as rich or as targeted if you had moderate flow. Then we go to the maximum flow, of course, all of your SPS corals. Your SPS corals need a lot of flow because, as you notice, SPS, short polyp stony corals. So those type of corals, you need irregular flow, in other words, chaotic flow and a high flow content hitting those corals. Now, at the same token, I don't mean that they have to bombard it so high where actually the skin of the coral is going to start to dissipate, or the stony corals will you'll actually notice a bald spot or a spot that's bleaching out. You have to be careful when it comes to heavy flow and the SPS. So that basically is the topic that I wanted to bring up today. I hope you found it educational. I hope you liked it. And if you did, well, just hit the thumbs up. And you're welcome to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Also, you can find me in Instagram, the same name, Eddie's Reef Aquaria. Eddie's Reef _ Aquaria. But once you put Eddie's Reef, that's it. It'll pop up. And what I do there is I put like different pictures, short videos of things that I actually do not put on my YouTube channel videos. So I hope you liked it, and like I say at the end of all my videos, happy reefing. Thank you very much. Bye bye.